Good morning to you all once again. We will start now with our first panel related to access to finance, and your moderator is going to be Claire Munk. She is going to give you all the details. So, Claire, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Radka. Good morning to you all. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you so much for organizing all of this, or the WeGate team. My name is Claire Monk. I am the CEO of a business angel group in Belgium, as well as an early stage venture capital fund. And this morning, what we will do in this panel is try to discover what are the key components of an access to finance program. And I'm delighted to have two panel members this morning, or three. Rix just joined us. Great. So we have Sylvia from Portugal, we have Sasha from Bulgaria, and we have Rix from the Netherlands. So we have a purely European panel. Good morning to you, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us today. So maybe just to kick off, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourselves and also a little bit what you currently do in terms of programs for women entrepreneurs and maybe access to finance. So I'll maybe ask Sylvia to start.
Thank you very much, Claire, and hello, good morning to everybody here. It's such a pleasure to end my week in this interesting and challenging way. I'm sure that your experience has been really fun up to now and interesting, and I hope I will contribute to that. So my name is Sylvia Almeida, and I'm Portuguese. I live in Lisbon, and well, today I am a business angel investor. I'm a university professor of innovation and entrepreneurship, and I'm also an entrepreneur myself. The reason I'm here is because I have been one of the founding members of Women Win-Win and a participant since the beginning in 2013 and 2014, about that time, because what we wanted to do is to boost female entrepreneurship in a very professional way. We have one of the highest percentages of working women here in Portugal, and many of them work for themselves. We believed we had something to contribute in terms of the learning of these women to be able to start building and developing successful businesses. So what we have been doing since then, and because we were in a not so mature market, we focused on the role model sharing, learning by sharing part of the impact. And we built one of the most famous mentoring programs here in Portugal, and probably the only one for targeting specifically women entrepreneurs. What we have noticed is that, of course, the overall startup ecosystem changed as we were working. And I'm also part of the overall startup ecosystem in my role as a business angel, member of the leading association here in Portugal. And so we took the time that this pandemic, forced us to stop, and we have been thinking quite a bit, benchmarking the markets, benchmarking our own market. And we feel that right now we do have the environment to start creating women-specific investment readiness programs, okay. Even accelerators. My experience as a business angel in a very diverse, gender diverse environment at Catholic universities, that yes, women are as much interested in entrepreneurship and growth and success as men, but there are the biases are real. I'm sorry to say, the biases are real. I see them happening, and sometimes they are just emotional, but they exist. So what we want to do is really to launch right in the fall this accelerator program that will have different phases and will culminate with an investment readiness and access to finance part.
Okay. So thank you, Sylvia. I think we'll come back to that. Probably we'll come back to the specific hurdles that women entrepreneurs face so that you can see in the market, and then the components of the investment readiness program. So thank you so much. To the participants in the chat, I know that we have representatives of support organizations and women entrepreneurs. Please use the chat to ask any questions while we speak, and I'll ask them to the panel members as we go. So Sasha, can you tell us more about you and what you currently do for women entrepreneurs and access to finance, maybe in particular?
Thank you, Claire. Thank you for inviting me to reflect on my experience and view in front of such an important audience that I love to and I advocate for. A few words about myself. I'm a digital professional for more than 20 years. I've been on different executive roles in HP. Lastly, I've been responsible for 67 countries on a worldwide level for 2 of the business lines. And I have many different engagements related to societal innovation, running a think and do tank, involvement in the ecosystem development for new business. But here I will speak a little bit more about my experience for supporting women entrepreneurship and women leadership. Otherwise, I'm likewise angel investor myself, and also limited partner in 4 investment funds. As also I'm part of the investment committee of European Innovation Council. So why women entrepreneurship matters? That's an important question because, you know, there are pros and cons. Should we especially support women or not? At the end of the day, it's about the talent of everybody. I personally think that we should focus on women for a couple of reasons. The practical one is that in this world of transformation, we need to, for participation, effective participation of the talent of everybody. And only in Europe, we need more than 700,000 professionals to be able to support the new economy. But a fact that is maybe less visible is that women, in my view, have a special role in this time of transformation because more feminine attitude is needed in the business and in leadership. I hope you agree with me that we are seeing and we participate in a birth of new world. And who but women knows how to give birth and how to accompany growth in a new world. And I'm using this maybe more a meta concept to encourage you, dear ladies, to take your role and to be active agents in this transformation through your enterprises by taking bigger roles in your companies, and also as investors and program managers, because that's very, very important for everybody.
Let me just maybe give the floor to Rix to introduce herself and maybe briefly also what you do today for women entrepreneurs.
Great to be here. My name is Rix Herklotz. I'm the director of The Next Women. The Next Women is a network of women entrepreneurs and investors based in Amsterdam, but we operate also across borders. We do everything in English, also to be accessible for women who don't speak the Dutch language. We are a network, which means that entrepreneurs become a member of the organization and thereby get access to a lot of programs, support. So we do coaching and mentoring. There's a lot of emphasis on finance and funding, coming from the fact that in 2014, we started our first angel fund, which were 75 Dutch women putting together a little million to invest in companies that had at least one female founder on the team. We've invested that money in 35 companies up until 2019. And then in 2019, we really saw 1 million divided by 35. You can do the math. It's quite small, early pre-seed investments that we did. But a lot of companies evolved, grew, needed more money for the next stage. And that was really difficult because what some might find a surprise, but the Dutch aren't that feminists, aren't really feminists just yet. Bias is still a conversation, not about we all have it, how do we tackle it, but the conversation is more along the line of, is it really there and what's the effect? So we saw the need to start a venture capital fund, which is something that our founder, Simone Brummelhuis, did together with Start Green Capital. And that's the Borsky Fund that was launched in 2019, October, which is the first gender lens fund, VC fund in the Netherlands. And we're currently working on the launch of a follow-up to that first angel fund. We've learned a few hard lessons. Back in 2014, it was very new what we were all doing. So we're looking to launch something more along the lines of a syndicate. But the added value is also that we have the network already next to the programs, the support. And earlier this year in March, we started the first investor class to also train more women to become an investor. I'm a firm believer of don't fix the women, fix the system, but there's parts in the system right now that we can be more involved in. So that's also something that we're focusing on.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Rix. I think we've already heard a lot of interesting tools that are used, so the mentoring, the networking, the angel funds, the venture capital funds, the coaching sessions. So we can dive into that, of course, during the discussion. So it's interesting that you don't necessarily have the same view, but also you are in different ecosystems as to how to really focus on women entrepreneurs and access to finance. But I think that something we agree on is that there are still too few women entrepreneurs, and then access to finance is really an issue for women entrepreneurs to get started, to get funded. And here we're talking about access to finance at large. So it's not only about accessing venture capital, although obviously we have a panel here of representatives from the venture capital environment, angel investors and early stage fund managers. But maybe my first question will be about these specific hurdles concerning access to finance that you find in your own ecosystems, and how you address them today, or how you intend to address them in the future. So let me maybe start with Sylvia. So you already have mentoring, networking initiatives with Women Win-Win, but you mentioned that you specifically want to develop something regarding access to finance for women entrepreneurs. So why is that? What are the specific hurdles that you have seen?
Yes, I have seen two types of hurdles. The first one is the very objective one, is financial literacy. So, and this is true for entrepreneurs in general, but as we have seen also with the first project that Women Win-Win did with Business Angels Europe, I mean, there is a particular distance between the female public and all these topics of being a business angel, etc. On the side of women entrepreneurship, we also see that distance. For some reason, at least in this market, women entrepreneurs tend to be a little bit less, let's say, ambitious in terms of how they present themselves as entrepreneurs and how they present their vision for their own businesses. And I mean, this is true from the bachelor degree in my class at university. I mean, men are usually so much more sure of themselves. So there is this distance in terms of the actual literacy, and then there's the distance that it's emotional. I mean, we are.
And it touches on presentation skills as well towards investors, right? It's
about
attitude and presentation skills.
The vision, the ambition, the plan, how they present, what they need, how they pitch, what they ask for, and what they offer. Mm-hmm. Everything is a little bit smaller. and sometimes a little bit less informed.
Mhm.
A third area where I feel there is this huge need of literacy, and also we want to work that, is the legal side of things. So we think about investment readiness in terms of business. We think about financial literacy in terms of the knowledge of the financial instruments. Then we think a little bit of networking. But this process of bringing a business from startup level to, let's say, IPO or a very successful exit, I mean, it has such a heavy legal component. And there also is a very large literacy gap in this market.
Okay.
So we do feel that there is definitely the room for creating a learning environment that is mindful of women's specificities, and that also takes away the temptation of being more comfortable from the investor's point of view. And that is my last point. And I know that Sasha has a different point of view, but my experience, and in my business angel role, I am the only woman at the table. And the comments I hear from my colleagues, which are very civilized and very modern men, don't misunderstand me, but the justifications that they find to go more towards the projects that are closer to them personally. So I see an emotional bias there too. So I feel that a program that targets women it doesn't have to exclude men, but will be definitely more mindful and a little bit less prone to these underlying trends, let's say, biases.
Okay, so before giving the floor to you, Sasha, because you will have maybe a different point of view, but let's go back to what Sylvia said. She mentioned financial literacy, attitude and / presentation skills to investors, and then the legal knowledge to grow a startup to a scale up to a very successful company. Rix, is that something that you've also observed in the Netherlands that you've tried to tackle, or do you have other hurdles that you have also tried to address?
Well, I think from the literacy point of view, that's definitely something that we see. And I think what Sylvia says, it's not per se gendered, but we really see it with women specific. And what women tend to do is, if the literacy component isn't there, the confidence isn't there, and the risk, it tends to be too big. So what we really see on the financial side, and not just per se angel or VC, in a broader sense, is that women don't know, therefore don't see it as too big a risk, and choose to do it on their own, because also had the numbers right now, having it be less than a 5% chance if you're a female founder to walk away with any kind of funding in the Netherlands. Women think, I'll pick my battles, I'll focus on my sales, I do it on my own, and maybe get a little loan with a friend or a family member, but I'm okay. I'm not going to put the time and the effort in that funding trajectory if my odds are so stacked against me. So that's something that we do. We organize a funding morning program every quarter, which is really tailored to what type of funding is out there, what type of funding addresses or suits your type of business.
So this is also, Rix, not only about venture capital, right? Demystify venture. This is all also sources of finance.
Yeah, because I think in a broader sense, and in the Netherlands, it's also that men don't all start VC-ready companies, but more with women, you see that had the businesses that they start, they're never going to the VC route anyways. So there is more of a need to to talk about other forms of funding that are out there. There's a huge governmental support in the Netherlands that a lot of entrepreneurs are not aware of, especially in the early stage. So that literacy part I really see. In terms of ambition, I see that too. But I had the bias, and the thing that's there is also that the way that we raise our children, the way that we raise genders, we raise boys to be individuals. So if you're an individual, you're only there to take care of yourself. Your risk profile is way bigger than if you're raised to take care of your brothers and sisters, your friends, your family, your community. Because if you're taking a risk and if it goes bad, it doesn't just go bad for you, it goes bad for everyone. So that's a burden, a weight on the shoulders of a lot of women, which they take into the room when pitching, and to I think in regards to that, the question is the VC, if we talk VC world, is that the way we want to build a world where 90% is failing? Or do we want to build a world where 80% succeeds? Because we know that 8 out of 10 women are able to pay back loans, to build sustainable companies, to still be alive and kicking after 5 years, where in other industries that doesn't happen that much, or the numbers are much lower. So it's also
interesting,
really
because you're also talking about redefining how venture capital works also.
Yeah, or at least making it more clear how venture capital works, and then also be understanding of the fact that that's just for a small part of entrepreneurs, the way to go. And also in regards to what type of company do you want to build? Do you want to build a VC type business, or do you want to build that's a word that you hear a lot when talking to women, impact. We want to make an impact, and we want to grow, but grow doesn't always mean financial gains. It means creating jobs, creating more of a better impact on nature, and doing so much more than just building the next $1 billion unicorn. So really about that redefining part. And I think in terms of the bias in the room, I think we also need to hold the men accountable, even if they don't mean it, because they usually don't, right? They don't. They're not bad men in a room looking to put women down. But the fact that it's so unconscious and it's so implicit, we need to address it. And I think that is something that we as women can learn how to address it without anger, without putting it into a you versus me, us versus them, but just us as a society. We can do better. We can do better without having these set ideas about people in the room.
Okay, so thank you. I think we'll come back in a moment to solutions and ideas of things that you do currently, or that you might want to do to help women with access to finance. But Sasha, what is your point of view to finish on the hurdles and biases? Do you have another experience with your programs?
Actually, I want rather to build on what Sylvia and Rix share, and we'll of course share what is the approach we are following. We are still in a male-dominated investment environment, and the argument that Rix gave are very, very valid everywhere. What we see is that women are creating businesses rather around the cause than following necessarily something that is trendy and will make big money, which is a challenge for them to introduce this in a convincing way and to get the support by the investment audience that thinks in a different way. So, but the good news is that we see a general trend towards finding solutions, towards solving big social problems, being this environmental, education-wise, or related to social sensitive challenges. And although with small steps, we see that investors start to look into a more impact-driven agenda, where women definitely are looking for. And if we as champions in this world are giving an example on investing with priority, which, for example, I'm doing, and some of the female friends, that we support businesses where purpose before profit is the thinking and the mentality, then this impacts back the overall investment thinking. What we do is not necessarily to create funds that supports only women, because even for practical reasons, there is not yet critical mass of female-led businesses that are financially viable. That's why we have lots of development programs to encourage them to make a step, to create communities. But rather to use the fact that we also play an important role in the overall ecosystem, so that through specific quotas for women as a model, through really mentoring and supporting enterprises that are really investment ready, to make them part of the overall ecosystem. And one last point that, in my view, makes is in a way a solution and addressing one of the hindrances. We still live in a world with the main clubs around businesses, around technologies, around investments. And is important, in my view. That's what we are doing also, to create a safe space for women to exchange, to have their safety net, their support network, for really get energy, encouragement, ideas, and also sometimes to create a collaborative project, but not to close this to the only female segregated business or investment environment, just as a common higher step if you want to jump in the overall business community. That's what we are doing.
Yes, so I think that's an important point, Sasha, that you made. I think that what all of us strive for is for diversity in the biggest sense of the word, which is not to, sometimes we need to have some standalone initiatives, but they all need to be connected to the wider ecosystem. Just on a side note, I set up the Women Business Angels Club for Be Angels, which was a rather male-dominated business angel club some 8 years ago. But we first started with a specific branding for women business angels, just to encourage more women to join. But it was always connected to the larger angel group. It was never something that should operate on the side. So you mentioned a number of ideas as to how you tackle the hurdles that you've mentioned. So you mentioned, Rix, the funding mornings, so information sessions about how to access finance, different types of finance. We talked about quotas, or making sure that in programs we actually ask for a specific number of women entrepreneurs to join programs. We talked about involving women who are investment ready, have received funding, as role models in the ecosystem, and making sure that we increase the number of women in this larger ecosystem. I want to change a little bit the topic to something which is important, which you mentioned, Sasha, which I think is one of the hurdles. Is how do you tackle the fact that we do not have a sufficient number of women entrepreneurs also accessing these programs? So I think that one of the important aspects of making these access to finance programs successful is making sure that you can communicate right. So where do you find these women entrepreneurs who want to join these access to finance programs? Do you do anything specific to communicate? Have you found anything really that works well? Sasha, I think you want to share some. Yeah.
Actually, we work in the whole vertical, if you want. First of all, we have a special entrepreneur award competition on a yearly basis, which invites girls and young women from 16 to 25 to introduce their entrepreneurial ideas. And this is more an empowerment, engaging, charging initiative that is accompanied with educational and mentoring activities. But we believe that in accordance midterm, we to create this critical mass of women that start their businesses. If they have a talent and wish for this, we need to start early. That's why 16. And why 16? Because they are still plastic. Eventually, there is not a boyfriend that says, you are so smart, you support my business, and I grow, and through this we grow together. We want them to create a muscle, if you want, and self-confidence, that if they wish, they can be the leader of their businesses. And for 5 years, we have more than 200 companies, enterprises that was born through this initiative. And after that, they joined the large startup community as one of the founders. What else we do, as I've mentioned, we have these She Circle events that happen on a monthly basis. And this is a venue for experience exchange, but also for light education program. And when I say light, this is a community where you would find very young women that are in the early career days until CEOs of companies. And we just want to mix them by not necessarily qualifying them to who is who and what is so, in accordance to support this critical mass building of female-born ideas on how you participate in the overall business process of the country, and also on the international level. Because if you don't have this thinking and this bigger picture, you may grow into specific area of business by carrying all the load of biases, limitations of system, and so on. And thirdly, what we do, we invite men in the whole this process. We invite them to be champions of programs, to be speakers at the events, to educate them, if you want, as investors, why there is a value add to have more women on the investment committees, in the leadership teams, and through this we hopefully, and we know that this is happening, are changing the thinking in the overall ecosystem. And that's very important. And only then we can be successful and go with this program approach to lobby for quotas in the investment funds on a local and European level, or to promote more female-centric initiatives related to finance and investment.
Okay, thank you, Sasha. Sylvia, how do you make sure that the Women Win-Win initiative is known, that you have a sufficient number of women participating in the programs? And do you have specific ideas as to how you will communicate the future acceleration or access to finance initiative?
Yes, so in the past, what has really worked well for us is having a media partner always is very good, especially when we were launching the actual platform, so nobody knew us. We are very well connected to other associative movements. And just like Sasha mentioned, we are definitely not segregating our public between men and women, and we invite a lot of men. We are very well connected with the Industrial Association here in Portugal, and other chambers of commerce for overall entrepreneurs and business owners. And that is also very, very good for us in terms of reach. And for the future program, something that is also in the works is us using our connections in the academic environment. So Maria José Amish, who is the founder and leader of Women Win-Win, is the executive director of the Lisbon MBA. And this MBA is a joint initiative of the Catholic University and Nova. So they are the two leading business universities here in Portugal. And I teach at Catholic University. And also I see that definitely young women are very imaginative, and they are definitely a very interesting public to start targeting in a more inclusive and active way. Okay. One thing that we still don't do, and definitely we have to, is to connect with our local women in tech community. Mm-hmm. And that is definitely one of the, let's say, points to be improved in the business school entrepreneurial environment, which is, tech literacy, because they are business school students, not really engineering school students. And that is particularly true for the young women wanting to start businesses. So we definitely have to bring that in the future.
So yes, we go back to that, making sure that any program, maybe specifically tailored to women entrepreneurs, is well integrated into the general ecosystem. So the academia, the associations, the business associations, just to make sure it is successful. So Riggs, what about you? How, maybe initially, because now the Next Women, maybe has a lot of visibility, but how did you ensure that you had a sufficient number of women that were interested or just knew about what you were doing?
Yeah, I think it's also now coming to the momentum and being the longest one standing. That's helping us with being visible. But in the beginning, what one of the first things was what we did was start a top 100 list to make role models visible and to create awareness. And that wasn't initially planned from the beginning, but that was really also a question that came from the community, like, who are the examples? Can you show us? And so by publishing that list continuously, and we're publishing it for the 10th time this year, that created a name, and at least we are able. And it's not that difficult, right? To find these women. I mean,
and the media, they love, right?
They love lists. They love anything that the funny thing is, we never work with a number one, but the media is always looking for the number one. So they just like the one that's on the top of the. They named her the number one, the winner of the Next Women 100, which we specifically don't, because we feel that there's a power in the mass as well, and to just showcase that there's at least 100 and more women that are having just really awesome businesses at top levels. So that was a thing that has helped us in the past. Also, and pre-COVID, we are already a little bit shifting in that, but we did an annual big event where we were able to attract great speakers to, so that have those marketing moments that create awareness for the organization, for the mission, and so that has helped us in the past, really. And now it's trying to leverage on that as well, right? So now you have a name, and now to be able to actually make that change. So what I've seen happening in the last few years within our organization is moving or actually adding a second mission to it. So it was helping or supporting entrepreneurs in the growth of their company, and it's now more of, hey, here's what we teach women, how to play the system as smart as they can to be as successful as they can as of right now. And on the other end, we're working on, but what's not working here? Why are we needed in this space? So to be in have programs with 3 of the Dutch banks, to be a partner with the government that for some reason can't figure out why women don't want to go on trade missions, and to really be the one in the know.
So you're the sounding board. You're the sounding board.
Yeah, I think for yesterday, just a short example, we're creating a new program, or a 3rd edition of an existing program to happen in October, November. I was talking to a couple of people, an organization really specialized on working with international or Dutch entrepreneurs going international, and one of the banks. And they were looking for an entrepreneur to have as a participant in that session. And they were like, yeah. So we came to some names, but we can't really come to someone that is also part of the bank or that has received funding from the bank. And then I had to be the one that said, like, but I know her, and they all received funding through your bank, because I know that, because they told me that, and they can't filter it out of their systems.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that's interesting. And your role, I would say, as you say, sounding board, and having that information that the government or the banks or whoever is trying to do, trying to improve diversity and trying to target women entrepreneurs, they can't get their hands really on the information, or their head around how to really tackle this.
Yeah, and it's from being part of a system or an organization that operates with that bias. So to not be influenced by that bias while being part of that organization, that's really challenging for people in general, right? So the funny thing, I'm working on a daily basis with women entrepreneurs, with investors. I see all of them. Sasha just said, like, we don't only invest in women entrepreneurs because we don't have the mass yet. With Borsky, they receive 400 opportunities, and they can only invest in 15 in the end. So there is a mass coming, but it's also not really on the radar of organizations such as banks, government. They're more or less still set in their old ways of thinking, and they think that if they make it pink and throw a little bit of sparkles on it, the women will come, instead of really diving into the systems that they've created that are excluding women at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think this is also something that you hear sometimes also in the angel investment world, that things will change by themselves, and then all of a sudden we'll have more women angels. And I think that when you work with women, that actually we need to be part of the change, also, as Sasha mentioned. And no, if we wait for things to happen, it might take 20 to 40 years, but we don't have that timetable. We're all entrepreneurs around the room, and we're in a hurry to make things change. So I'm going to ask you 2 questions, maybe. One is going to be about the success factors. How do you measure success of what you do today? And the second one will be about business models, because we have here today people who actually want to set up programs, who want to set up organizations that help. And I think it would be interesting for them to know, how does it work? How do you set it up? What are your revenues? What can you do? So let's talk about success factors, or let's say KPIs, key performance indicators. How do you measure success? Is it the number of women entrepreneurs who apply? Is it the number of women entrepreneurs that go through a program? A number of women entrepreneurs that access finance? How do you measure success according to your own criteria? Who wants to start? Sylvia, do you want to share your experience? Yeah.
Maybe I can go ahead, especially because, we are in the process of building something that is new. So for us, in the state of maturity that we see our market in, we are more in measuring or thinking about success in terms of the size of the program, the number of applications, the number of participants, and also the number of graduates. Because many people just fall through the net.
That's one of the issues, right?
Right.
Making sure that actually they go through the whole process. Yeah.
Absolutely. Of course, in the future, we will have financial numbers, so access to finance, how much did they raise, etc. But for now, we are really focusing on the reach and the size of the program.
Okay, interesting. Thank you, Sylvia. Rix or Sasha, do you have anything else that you measure?
Of course, in addition to the quantitative measures, we also, of course, measure the members, the participants in our events, in the programs, in the bigger community of women that not necessarily formally attend, but are joining, and we measure how many of them that participate in different fora events then become the constant part of the community. But what we are looking into are also qualitative measures, because as I said, I think that women develop different type of businesses. And only if we introduce on a collective basis what is the trend, then we have much more convincing story before the investment audience, before the society, as also as an encouragement for women. And this is impact business. Definitely in the sustainability field, more women are looking into. And as the trend is pretty much also in that area, we are using data in accordance to introduce this, if you want, advancement or flavor or expertise of women to government for programs, as also to the investment community locally. And I believe that this helps. This helps also to really identify more visible niche of why women, what is the value added, if you want, of women in the overall societal progress.
Yeah. Thank you, Sasha. Rix, is there anything in particular more that you measure?
Yeah, adding to what the previous two women said, because those are things we measure as well. But for us as a network, we really measure the number of connections that we make that are adding value. So that could be just meeting an entrepreneur with working on our SaaS platform and matching her to one of the more successful SaaS entrepreneurs of the Netherlands for that cup of coffee, but also on the funding side. So we differentiate what the connection is, but also really because we are a community. So it's really about how can we leverage the knowledge and the people and the funds that are in the community to its best success.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Before turning to the questions, so one question concerning your business model or how you actually run these programs, very quickly, maybe not going into details, but key revenue streams to support the programs. Sylvia?
Yes, so we strongly believe that the targets of the programs should participate. So we always have a price. And we also believe that it increases commitment, and it's also a self-filtering way of choosing participants. And then we have two other income sources, some public funds, incentives, be them European or local, are important depending on the program we are thinking about. And the second one is corporates. Okay. So when we are talking about entrepreneurship, we also look for corporations that either through their social responsibility arm or their open innovation arm are interested in partnering with this type.
In the form of sponsorship, I suppose.
Yes, okay. Definitely.
The sponsors, yes. Sasha?
Very similar. We have income from memberships, also from joint programs with corporations. some public funding, primarily from projects, because specifically in Bulgaria, there are not state funds dedicated to women. And of course, through events, we also normally gain some flexible money for running different initiatives. But this is pretty much project program driven, where we put also financially sustainable picture, and that's the way how we go.
Okay. And Rix?
Same. We have memberships and we have corporate partners that we run programs with.
Yes,
That's
okay.
the two main.
But I think that's an interesting, so I think it's always, yes, consistent revenue streams, but an important message is also you are all requesting some form of payment to the women who participate in your programs, whether it be, to participate in the program itself or to be a member of an organization. So, there's no free meal, I think is one of the messages. So great. Let me just take a few questions before we have to close this wonderful panel. An interesting question about the survival of the companies, survival rate of the companies which you have helped. Do you have any statistic that you would like to share? Maybe Rix, you have a number of financial instruments that you have set up. Do you have any information about the survival rate?
Well, from our first fund, from the 35 companies, we have still 30 that are alive and kicking and growing and existing. So that's a pretty good one. And from our organization side, also because due to the fact that we ask that payment, what you see, because there's a lot of organizations in the Netherlands that you can join for free. So when people join our organization, they're usually at some level already. So also there, the success rate is quite high, because if they're really in that research stage, they join other organizations. Although we do see, right now I have like 5 members who are thinking about a company and really in that exploring phase, and just have really wanting to take that on seriously, and therefore already getting feedback and coaching in that. So that does happen, but that's really a small, like 10-15% of our organization. And the others do well.
So I think that's it goes back to your point, Rix, right, about saying, well, if you're in the venture capital world, 9 companies out of 10 will fail. I think you're trying to set a different benchmark as well for the future. So that's great. Sylvia, Sasha, do you want to share any statistics that you have on survival rate of companies? Which I suppose, the question is, do they have a better survival rate because they receive support, because they're part of programs as well? I think is a related question.
Well, these are not numbers from Women Win-Win, but from accelerator programs that I am a trainer at, and with which I cooperate since a few years back. Our experience is that businesses that go through well-structured accelerator programs, so we are not just talking about financial backup, but also methodologies that help them validate their business models and evolve the business model to a stage where they are actually sustainable and interesting. The success rates are much higher than those 10%. Just for a specific program where we really measured the survival rate over 5 years, we had a 60% of survival rate, which is pretty
much better than the average
much better.
Statistics. Yeah, Sasha.
As we don't have a special program, I will not speak based on the experience of our organization. One thing, though, is interesting and supports our discussion is that 60% more of the female-led companies, that are fewer, of course, in numbers, survived compared to early stage, and I'm talking pre-seed, seed level, from the male-led. And why so? It is because women are more conservative, more shy. They don't take bigger risk, but normally they would go in a very consistent, systematic way into developing their business. So I'm not judging here if this is good or bad statistics, just as something that is good we also to consider in the context of our discussion today, that eventually there is a value add also into having both male and female energy on the management level in the new businesses, in accordance to balance this risk-avert approach with the more consistent and systematic development of the business, and that's in the ideal world.
Okay, thank you, Sasha. So I think we're shortly going to come to a close. So I would like to thank you three very much for joining us this morning, Rix, Sasha, and Sylvia. It was a pleasure having you. I think we had a great conversation and we had lots of tips and tricks for the participants. We couldn't cover it all, of course, as always, but I think it was a good glimpse into the energy and the enthusiasm that you are all putting into your programs. So thank you so much. Good morning again to all of you who followed the previous panel. Delighted to be here again to continue our discussion about access to finance for women entrepreneurs. So during the previous panel, we actually discussed with three women who were running or were thinking of running access to finance programs for women entrepreneurs. And now we're going to have a workshop with Francesca and Natalie. Hi, Francesca. Good morning.
Ciao, Claire. Good morning, everybody. It's very nice the way you pronounce my surname, Natalie. I really like it.
The French way.
Yes.
So, Francesca, we've had the pleasure of knowing each other, I think, for close to 20 years. So I think that, it will be great learning about your various and long-standing experience of early stage financing. We'll obviously focus on women entrepreneurs this morning, but we've organized this as a mini workshop. So I know you will introduce yourself and the activities that you've had with regards to early stage venture capital funds and business angel financing. And so you'll cover a presentation where we'll go really into the detail of what investment readiness means and how do you get ready for investors. Yeah. And then we'll take the floor for a short Q&A session and some questions from the participants. So Francesca, the floor is yours. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
I would like to start, telling you a little bit more about my experience as an investment manager and managing partner for my company, which is Meta Venture. And then I would like also to share my very new role in the largest female business angels club I am in. So Meta Venture is a financial company which has been working as a fund manager in Italy, in Poland, and also in Slovenia, managing a number of early stage funds, investing into new innovative companies. All those funds have been working as a co-investment fund, meaning that I have a quite long experience in co-investing, especially with business angels club. If I may add some details about investment into female companies, I have to say that since the very beginning, we didn't found so many companies managed by female entrepreneurs. I think that also in Italy and other more southern companies, the landscape is changing. There are more young girls running female companies. a number of good projects are coming out, even if there is a large space for improvement in order to support women, to support young girls in becoming entrepreneurs and also in becoming investors themselves, because I believe that having more female investors means also to support and to invest into more female projects. I have to say that when I started with Meta Ventures, I mean, around 20 years ago, very few women were managing and running and taking care of investment activities in a leading role. Now, again, also from such point of view, I mean, I have noticed a number of big improvement, and from my side, I mean, I'm putting lots of effort in involving more women into board of directors, for example, or in asking for a more gender balanced recruitment when we look for a high profile position. Because this is again a relevant point. We have just closed for our portfolio company a recruitment for a non-executive board member at international level. We had something like 20 names provided by our headhunter. No female names among such a long list. So
you need to change the headhunter.
I mean, I was I mean, I'm the only female into such a board, and I was let's say saying that we had to investigate more, because I was not convinced that no women could at least have been short-listed. So no female name. It was really a pity, and in fact, at the end, we had to mail as a non-executive board member. So I mean, there is a long way. But we, as a female investor, being seated in a very male, very, I mean, in such type of environment, we should fight in order to go for a more balanced situation. So, as I said, we as a Meta Venture, we are running different funds. All those funds are have been regional fund and co-investment fund. They are already fully invested, and my role so far is taking care of our portfolio companies. There are few that are growing quite well, and I sit in the board of directors of those companies, following the scale-up process, and for few of them we are designing the exit strategy, and so we are working with advisor and so on, and so forth. But apart from my experience as a managing director of our Italian, Polish, and Slovenian Ingenium fund, now I am into such, I would say, quite new, at least new for the Italian environment, Business Angels Group. It is based between Milan and and Rome. It has been promoted by AXA, which is an international insurance company which play a important role, I would say, for supporting female entrepreneurship across different countries. And another relevant sponsor is Impact Hub Milano. A few numbers about the club. It is the largest, even if it is only 7 business angels member. We are investing in company led by women, and we also take care of the social impact of the business project we are evaluating and we are in investing. As a business angels club, as angels for women, we also implement a training course to help women in becoming more familiar with the financial environment, in becoming more confident in investing into startups. And we do it together with the Italian Business Angels Association, because I strongly believe that at the end, the fact that there are so few female investors, it is a cultural issue. So it is very relevant. It's very important to implement and to launch a program and schemes that could help girls and women in being familiar and confident with all the financial issue that can be linked to risk capital in investment. So here you can see how we work. We are mainly focused on early stage in investment. We have ethical issues to respect, and we need to have female founders, at least 50%. We also follow our portfolio company. We provide business support, also thanks to Impact Hub Milano, and we provide to our investee company a deal champion that will follow the investment through its life cycle. Before sharing with you maybe some thoughts, some ideas, some tips about what investment readiness means, also from a female perspective, I would like, to say that according to my experience, being investor ready, it is not something that is linked to the gender. Being investor or not investor ready, it is something that it is linked to the capability to know, to understand, and to negotiate the investment with the investors. It is something that, as I said, it is not related to the fact that you are male or you are a female. You need to be trained, you need to be prepared, you need to know the rules of the games. In my experience in delivering such type of program, of course, I have been trained mainly male founders, because there are less female entrepreneurs. And that's, the main point. But I mean, when I negotiate with female entrepreneur, I have to say that in most of the cases, not always, of course, the girls, the women are more eager. They are more prepared, and they have a bigger ambitious, and so from a certain point of view, sometimes it is easier to be engaged and with them and to close a successful investment if my counterpart is a woman, is a female, because on average they are more prepared. In general, I think that being investor ready, it depends to the capability of the entrepreneurs. It doesn't matter if it's a male or a female, to see the investors as a client of equity. It can reduce barriers, constraints to funding, making the investment process easier and smoother. Another point, but I think that I already said, but I would like, I mean, to stress and to repeat. I think that more female business angels, more female leading venture capital funds can lead to more investment into companies founded by women, meaning that those entrepreneurs can take part to, I mean, in a larger extent to investment readiness program. So, I mean, supporting the financial training course to help girls starting from school, but also at university, in being confident and familiar with financial matters. I think that could help quite a lot in having more female companies, because as you may see, the performance, the numbers are quite small, and at least from the Italian market, which I know, of course, better, meaning that I mean, there is a huge room for improvement. So here, I mean, I just sum up my thoughts and my ideas on how to promote both angel investing and female entrepreneurs. And I believe that having more female business angels club can be a nice and an appropriate boost to support a female entrepreneur. So Claire, if you like, if you allowed me, I would like to add some comments, some ideas, would like to share my experience with you and with your guest on what make successful in investment, and which are for me the key terms that entrepreneurs should know and should elaborate before engaging themselves with investors and starting to look for funding. The key terms when you start to look out in the market for funding is you to know that you should be flexible and adaptable. It means that you need a very good negotiation skill, because to close an investment deal, it means that you should be capable to negotiate. And to negotiate successfully, it means to fit expectation of your counterpart, who is the investor. And to fit expectation, it means that you, as an entrepreneur, you should be prepared, knowing in advance and in depth what the investor is looking for. It is the only way you two can fit his or her expectation, because it can lead you in finding the better possible alignment of interest, which is the end of the game, which is the goal of the game you are playing. At the very beginning, when you go out and you start to engage yourself with a risk capital provider, you are seen, or you see your investor, the investor, as a counterpart, which is correct, but you should also have in mind then that if the game will be closed in a successful way, you will be on the same board, on the same boat, looking, trying to achieve the same goals. So you should have clear in mind that your final goal for you as an entrepreneur and for the investor are not so different, because you both are keen to create value within the company, with the main aim to achieve additional round of investment at a higher value, and to achieve a profitable exit. Of course, at the very beginning, you have different requirements. You, as an entrepreneur, you do not want to lose company control, which is, I mean, the main concern of any entrepreneur, especially at the very early stage phase. Founders do not want to lose control of their company, which is understandable, and which is something that early stage investors respect and do not want to take. Investor need to need to invest into company that can have a very profitable exit, meaning that they are looking for a project that potentially can have a very high internal rate of return, and they want to have the capability to measure your project both in terms of opportunity and risk. So,
Francesca, may I just add that this is very true for venture capital investors, and just to mention to the participants that we are focusing on what business angels and early stage venture capital funds or venture capital funds in general will look for. Why do we go and see these types of actors? Because when we set up a company, or it's very, very innovative, or it's high growth, there is no refunding capacity. So these entrepreneurs do not have access to bank loans. So just to set that in context, Francesca, that you're talking about the expectations from a venture capital perspective.
Yes, very true. Thank you, Claire. This is the venture capital perspective, and it's also the perspective of founders going out into the market capital, looking for seed or even pre-seed round of investment. In fact, there are different type of risk capital money provider. You should know which is your guy. You should know which one is capable or is keen, even better, to invest into your company, because all the money is not the same, meaning that all those different players across the line have their own investment criteria. They have to respect, they have to fulfill, and you as entrepreneur should know who is the right guy for you, according to the type of company you are and the type of money you are looking for. Here I'm using, a very famous ancient Greek statement, which is saying gnotite auton. It means know who you are. If you do not know who you are, it is very hard for you to go around, even if you are looking for money, and achieve the money you are looking for. Because if you are a startup, of course, you should go for a startup investor, which are very different from the investor keen to put money into a scaler, meaning a company already in the market with great traction, willing to implement an internationalization strategy. So you should know who you are and choosing accordingly the type of investor that is good for you. From a very simple and easy point of view, you shouldn't talk with strangers. It means that you should talk with the right financial partner, and this is up to you. You should select carefully the right financial partner, because each investor, again, I would like to repeat, has its own expectation and evaluation criteria that you should know in advance in order, you remember, fitting expectation, in order to fit in the best possible way the expectation he or she has with reference to the investment proposal you are presenting. There are different financial partners for startup, business angels, and venture capital funds. There are also equity crowdfunding platforms, which are quite promising and interesting source of capital for young companies. They like to co-invest with business angels, and venture capital funds are quite popular nowadays in Italy, because they have, it seems, they have quite extensive fundraising capabilities and engagement rules that are not so aggressive. So together with business angels and venture capital funds, it is important also to mention crowdfunding platform. Those financial partner investor have their own engagement rules. Again, up to you to investigate, to make your homework, and to understand how the Business Angels Club you are approaching is implementing its investment strategy, and if your project has the capability to fit its investment strategy. Just to make a very long story short, because I know that in the previous session you already went through the investment readiness program. What we are looking for, because this is, I mean, the most relevant question. Risk capital investor, sorry, are looking for high growth, high risky companies that are capable to grow, to scale in a very short time, and to become profitable, to become successful in the market in a very short period of time. The second point, so investors are looking for high growth, high risky businesses. The second point, the second crucial element that you as entrepreneur should have very clear in mind, and it is according to me, I mean, a not point, especially with with early stage company. You should have very clear in mind that we play the game to invest because we want to live from your company. We invest to exit. Exit is the magic word. Since the very beginning, since the moment zero, since the moment we put the first euro into your company, we are dreaming about a successful exit. And if you share our vision about exit, if you help us in building and in implementing a successful exit, the marriage, even if it is a marriage with a deadline, will be very successful for all the parties involved. You should know why we look and we are so eager to reach the exit in the shortest time, in the shortest possible time. Because, I mean, if we are fund manager, it means that we are managing money that do not belong to us. It means that we have to bring back the money to our investor at certain moment. That's why we want to achieve successful exit in a very short period of time. Without successful exit, fund managers are not capable to raise additional money in the market for the new funds they are keen to implement. Successful exit means also a successful fee for fund manager. So that's why we invest to exit. And also, if I'm wearing the hat of a business angel, even if I mean business angels invest their own money and they are more patient, they can be more, let's say, available to wait the right moment to leave the company. Also, business angels need to have the money back at certain moment if they want to reinvest in more investment opportunities. They are also looking for becoming more liquid at certain time in order to reinvest, as I said, into other business project. So high growth, high risk company, having a clear exit plan to share and to present to investor. Those are the company we are very keen to support and to financially, support. Remember, technology is never an issue as itself. So what does it mean? It means that investors, most of the investors are not keen to invest into a technological breakthrough project without having a big and growing market in front. technology without market is nothing. We will never invest into a technology breakthrough project without, I mean, a great and growing market in front. Claire, if I may, I would like to give you, few tips coming from my experience. It seems, quite logical to say that we look at entrepreneur. But sometimes it is not like this. What does it mean? It means that sometimes investor negotiate with someone not keen to be an entrepreneur. In many cases, I discuss and I negotiate with, for example, with researchers not keen to leave their job at university for becoming a full-time entrepreneur. It's not possible to be a part-time entrepreneur. That's why it's so important to convince the investor you are a full-time entrepreneur, very committed on the project and very enthusiastic about the idea you are keen to develop. Remember also that you should present your idea as a business project, not as an invention, not as a research project. I'm still evaluating pitch or documents that look like research project. Even if sometimes behind, if you look carefully, there is lots of potentiality, they are presented in a very academic way. It doesn't work like this. The first sites, the first document you are sending to an investor should be very smart, should be very appealing. That's why you should prepare your pitch, your business plan in a very appealing and convincing way. Remember also that you need to be an entrepreneur, but you should have a team, a core team around you, and the team is not one person, is not two person. It is at least 3 people, having also the capability to say and to accept that new key people may be added in the future if needed. A core team should be large enough, well balanced, and very, very motivated. Last but not least, we need you to have a clear vision about the money you need, not just for the current round of investment you are looking for. We need to know how much money you need to implement your business project for the next, let's say, at least 5 years. We need to have such type of information to evaluate and to assess your project. And it is something that you shouldn't ask to the investor. It's something that you should know and you should present to the investor. What we are worried about, again, exit. We want to know, we need to know when we will have our money back. We would like to make estimation about how much money we will have. Of course, we are we know that it is only a forecast, but we need to have such type of forecast, we should be in the position to make some type of forecast. And we need to also measure the opportunity we have in front of us versus the risk we support. Last but not least, you should be prepared. And it means that you should have a smart business plan, an appealing pitch, and the capability to deliver the pitch you are presenting in a very smart and convincing way. And here, if I may, add a comment related to gender, I have to say that women are much better in delivering pitch. They are more empathetic. I prefer girls and women presenting the business idea. They have, a smarter way to do it in general. And as a final tips and a final suggestion, if I may, do your homework in advance, and in order not to waste mainly your time, which is a very important asset for you, choose the investor you are keen to approach very carefully. It is better to go around in the market of capital when you have money in your pocket. It is true, of course, if you are looking for a second round of investment, because if you are looking for the first round, it is quite, let's say, tough, difficult. You already have money in your pocket. But when you go for and look for the second or the third round of investment, plan it in advance and go around when you have money in the bank account, because the money is out there somewhere, and if you have a very good project, you may get the money you are looking for, but it is a time-consuming process. So you need to have money in your pocket when you start to look for the second or the third round of investor. So who are the entrepreneurs we would like to invest? Of course, Facebook already gone, but we have we think that Green Bond can be our unicorn company. It is in my portfolio, in my Italian portfolio, and it is a nice story because it is a company that has been set up in a small village close to Bologna, meaning that it is not necessary to be in Silicon Valley or close to Milan to set up a very promising company. So the company was born in Faenza. And the reason why we decided to invest the first 2 million into the company when the company was not there is because the lady presenting me the idea, she is a very she's a scientist. She's a very incredible, talented woman with a great idea. She contributes quite a lot in obtaining the patent on the technology which is behind the product that Green Bond is now in the process to manufacture, and together with Anna Tampieri, which is one of the founder of the company, there was also another person, the current Chief Executive Officer, and we decide, with a very skilled and very motivated in jumping into the company and in launching the company. Just to make again a long story short, the company is now moving into its first production site in the north of Italy. We are going forward with our clinical studies. A first batch of patients have been already treated successfully, and we are selecting the advisor that should support us in selling the company by the end of 2022, or at least in the first quarter 2023. And what I would like to stress is the fact that here, there were a number of different expertise coming mainly from very talented woman. Anna Tampieri, she is of course the one, because she is one of the founders, but other women and girls are supporting the company, especially with regulatory issues, taking care of the FDA application, and so on and so forth. So Greenbone, it's a very nice example on how company led by women can start in a very small environment with a lot of technical facilities around, and can grow in an international environment, because Greenbone has closed its third round of investment last December, 10 million euros coming from international investor. I am also very pleased to be into the board of directors together with other women, fortunately. So I think that it is really a very good example on how different competencies and expertise can contribute in building a successful company. So Claire, I think that it is.
Yes, thank you, Francesca.
All from my side.
Thank you so much. I think that was a very, very instructive presentation. You covered a lot of aspects.